Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. No, Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Oh my God. Oh, this is what happens when you take a day off. Okay, so I hope all the self-love stuff sunk in because we're getting ready to move into what I would call phase 2 of self-love and really making it stick, okay? And that's shadow work. So let's see, I have some notes. So the shadow self is composed of both positive and negative aspects, and it really is. Benefits of shadow work. Now, this is in the body of what I'm about to read to you, but I'm not going to get that far today. So, benefits of shadow work. Shadow work is hard and uncomfortable work, which is why the benefits of shadow work are valuable, a good return for your effort. I'm just going to read. So this is from Psychology Today. This is the one I found that one of the tools I used a few years ago when I did a little short part of shadow work during a self-love series. So yeah, just bear with me because I'm going to read this. And this computer's a little bit smaller than my other one, so my eyes are getting old. We're in classes since 3rd grade. So anyways, that being said, shadow work, just kind of as a little tiny fun fact or a little historical note, and it will talk about it in here, is really kind of the work of Carl Jung, who was he Swedish? I think he was Swedish. He was basically kind of a colleague of Freud, but he was also a trainee of Freud. He was a student of Freud, who, you know, as everyone knows, is basically the grandfather of modern psychology. So, but they kind of went in different ways because Carl Jung had other ideas, which is good. I mean, at first I'm not sure Freud really liked it because it sounds like this might have been one of his favorite students. I don't know, just the stuff I've read kind of points to that. But, you know, but that's the whole point about the medical field, right? Of any sort. As we move forward with people and different ideas, we learn new things. We learn new spokes in the mental health umbrella. You know, when Freud first started all this, a lot of it was just, you know, like, oh, well, you know, penis envy. And that's not true. That's actually not true. There was a lot more to his stuff. But a lot of it, you know, what we know today of Freud always seems to be a little bit, I don't know, sometimes it feels like an Oedipus complex, you know? So, you know, we just go with it. But with Carl Jung, he took it in a way a step further. So I'm going to stress this a lot during this series. I don't know how long this series is going to be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down, okay, and we're going to talk about it. And but it's definitely going to take us into next week. So it is definitely going to take us into next week. So I'm going to read this, okay? So again, bear with me because bear with me. And yeah, so today we'll, you know, so just bear with me. All right. So to understand what shadow work is, we must first define the shadow. The Swiss so sorry, Carl Jung, Swiss, I got the SW right. Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, who was perhaps Sigmund Freud's most famous trainee, described the shadow as the repressed parts of ourselves, the parts we find unpleasant or cannot tolerate acknowledging. Now, a lot of what I'm going to read was written by Jung in 1958, so that's a good 67 years ago. All right, so again, you know, when you think 67 years old, you know, no matter how old you are, you might know someone that age, and just to know that this person was still alive, well, a lot of the people we know were alive, you know, it's just, it shows how far we've come, but how far we still need to go when it comes to taking care of our mental health. So the shadow consists of the aspects of ourselves that contradict our characteristics that we do like and want to be recognized for. When we recognize our shadow sides coming up, we try to avoid acknowledging those parts at all cost. When we see other people demonstrating our shadow traits, we may have strong negative reactions because we, 1, do not want to be associated with those traits, and 2, may resent that other people get to express those sides of themselves while we don't. It is in the nature of our shadows that we cannot see them clearly. To look at them directly would be too painful. For this reason, shadows are more easily identified by other people, and conflict is likely to result when one person remarks on the shadow side of another person. Yeah. So, what is shadow work? Shadow work is the unification of who we consciously are with the parts of ourselves that we repress. It is the integration of the bad and the ugly with the good so that we become complete beings. Now, that was from Pertolo in 2013. And, a lot of people have, a lot of people have obviously studied Freud, but a lot of people have studied Carl Jung. And to be honest with you, he's my favorite. He is my absolute favorite because there's so many things that I've read in, including one of his books, that was just like, it blew my mind because I felt seen. I felt seen. And that doesn't mean that the last two therapists I had were great, because they really helped me with my shadow work. So, and that's one thing I'm going to circle back to, because I forgot to talk about it at the beginning because I just started reading. So anyways, Bly, I don't know who that is, but Bly offers the compelling image of each of us dragging a big, heavy bag containing all our shadows behind us. We fill that bag in childhood and in adulthood. And if we are lucky and courageous, we start to let those parts out of the bag. And we do that through the intentional, difficult process of facing our shadow sides and integrating them into who we are. So I'm going to stop there for today, because I'm going to talk about key points tomorrow. And I'm going to talk about a few other things. But and a lot of this is just talking points for me, and I'm going to give you my own experiences. I'm going to give you what my personal opinion is on this. Plus, we'll go back over the article. And remember, this is Psychology Today, so these people did not come by this easily, okay? They didn't just sit down and make it up. These are people who are trained professionals who, went to school for years and years to help us with our mental health, and still get called quacks and all these other stupid names that they don't deserve. So, or shrinks, and in a way, if you really want to make shrinks a positive thing, they're shrinking the negative side of you to oblivion. But what I want to circle back to, that I forgot to mention at the beginning, because I told you guys I squirrel a lot. I'm just kind of like, what? So anyways, my brain will go in lots of directions. I do not recommend, oh, it's raining, sorry. I do not recommend traveling this journey on your own. It might feel brave, it might feel like you can, and maybe you can for the most part, but I don't think it would hurt to have somebody who is a net. I personally recommend a therapist or a psychologist. I personally recommend therapy for this. My first, without realizing it, my first face-to-face with shadow work was in 2017, when I did 6 months of very intensive therapy. And I didn't realize it was shadow work until later, when I met, actually through baby sibling, a friend. And I had just kind of found the whole shadow work thing, Carl Jung, and she started talking to me about him. And I'm like, whoa, I got to read more about this guy. So she recommended a book. So Ashley, I know you're probably not watching this, but thank you. And baby sibling, thank you for pointing at, or for introducing me to Ashley, because we bonded over Carl Jung. So, and I think for her, it was just a book, because it's like, hey, this guy's fascinating. And so, but for me, it was kind of like, whoa, it blew my mind, because, like I said, I really felt seen. I really, really felt seen. And then at that time too, when I started reading the book that I bought, I realized that what I was going through in 2017 was shadow work. And it was, but I was doing it in the safety of someone's office, who was kind of guiding me and holding, like almost like a life preserver, right? They're making sure you don't drift too far off to sea. So, you need to find your anchor human, okay? That's going to keep you grounded. It's going to, be able to, that you can just share with. And like I said, while I do suggest therapy, especially for the really intense stuff, because I went through some really intense stuff to heal my childhood. And, even just 2 years ago, I was back in therapy for about 18 months. And It's just, I had the feral floof I talk about, and she was still a little bit feral because I didn't realize that my inner child really, really needed some attention and to be healed, because I had healed all the stuff. I'd faced all the bad things that happened to me, but I didn't face all the situations I created because of all that anger, because of all that angst and that pain and that trauma that had just kind of blown up in my face and kind of took other people out with me. So, you know, um, I'm not proud of those moments, but I'm proud that I figured them out, and I'm proud that I'm not ashamed to share them, because I think that's very, very important for us to acknowledge, the bad parts, the ugly parts, as it talks about in here. Okay, so let's just go over this really quickly. To understand what shadow work is, we must first define the shadow. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, who was perhaps Sigmund Freud's most famous trainee, described the shadow as the repressed parts of ourselves. That's the trauma for a lot of us, or just the parts of us that need to be healed. And if you believe in past lives, which I'm going to cover in this, okay, because I want everyone to be seen. If you believe in past lives, this could be stuff that you brought with you into this life to heal that you may not realize. Maybe you're afraid, like, as an example, maybe you're afraid of heights. Okay, well, maybe you're afraid of heights because maybe you died falling off a building. All right, or maybe you died in a plane crash. Maybe you're afraid of water. Maybe you drowned in a past life. So I don't want to lose anyone with that. But again, psychology is a very interesting thing. And, I'm sure someone would have something to say about me, including the people who feel like they might be reincarnated. But I personally do believe in that. And so I want other people to be seen through that. So just kind of stick with me. Keep an open mind. Okay, keep an open mind, because just keep an open mind. So, but yeah, there are repressed parts of us. The other day, for instance, my dad and I were watching Hawaii Five-O, not the new one, the old one. And I'm going to talk about this really quick because this actually covers a little bit of shadow stuff. So this one guy, he was a senator, okay, and he kept planting bombs everywhere, but he had no idea it was him. Well, apparently there was an accident in his childhood that resulted in his father dying, okay? And that part of him was so repressed, and he pushed all that pain down and never dealt with it, that it actually manifested into a split personality. So he actually didn't realize he was doing this stuff. Now, you got to remember, this is like the early 70s, and this isn't far after, Carl Jung started expressing all this stuff. So, it was still really new back then, what they were trying to figure out. But for the most part, I don't think they had the term shadow work on it. But had he done the shadow work, his shadow self may not have been trying to blow people up. Okay, so and what was happening was, there were I think two people. Well, I can't remember. I know at least one person died, but it wasn't them. His split personality was actually trying to blow himself up because he felt so much guilt over what happened to his dad. So that was a repressed feeling, and in a way we can work that into being a shadow self, that part that represents that painful, ugly aspect that we can't face, that we haven't been able to deal with. Now, I was raised by a generation that, to no fault of their own, didn't talk about depression. They just shoved it in the closet with everything else and said, nope, we're not going to deal with this. And that's okay. So I've kind of had to go on this journey alone, in a way. I had to figure this out. And because of that, I think I lost a lot of years in, healing, because I didn't get the help I needed till I hit my 40s. But everything to me happens for a reason. And I feel like one of the reasons it is because now at 52, I want people to know it doesn't matter what age you are. You are never too young and never too old to help yourself, to get rid of these things, to again, if you believe in past lives, to not carry it with you into the next life. To not carry it with you when you pass. You want to heal all the things that you brought to this world in this lifetime. And that's where shadow work comes in. So the shadow consists of aspects of ourselves that contradict our characteristics that we do like and want to be recognized for. So for people who have suffered from trauma, childhood trauma, whether it's CPTSD, PTSD, a loss, when you're young, you know, or even when you're older, but I'm going to go with young because a lot of times it's the healing trauma. And, you know, when we're kids, we spend so much time trying to keep this ugly secret, and that we don't really give much time to anything else. We don't understand how to organize or compartmentalize things, you know, and compartmentalizing isn't bad as long as you go back and heal the stuff that you're compartmentalizing, you know. And so I'm not sure if other people would agree with me, but that's what I did. I didn't know how to you know, to just put something over here and deal with it later. I just ignored it because there was all that stuff happening over here, but over here, you know, I had this great childhood. I had great parents, you know, wonderful family. All, you know, my parents loved me. I'm an only child, so, you know, I mean, trust me, I still got in trouble. For everyone that you know, has their little ideas about only children, you are wrong about a lot of us. We still get in trouble. I got grounded a lot. I mean, who are you gonna blame, right? I mean, one of the reasons we're so good is because we can't get away with anything. We try, but we can't. Older sibling, on the other hand, got away with a lot. Rebel with a cause. But anyways, sidetracking. So yeah, a lot of that went undealt with. And then when it did start coming out in my 20s, and I did see a therapist for like a hot second, you know, I was very proud of myself and I came clean. And my mom said, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that kind of stuff. You need to be stronger than that. You need to fight this off on your own. And, you know, then she tells me not to tell my dad. All right, so I often wonder what would have happened if I told my dad. My dad and I have had conversations about mental health, and it's not something that he completely understands, but he listens. He keeps an open mind. You know, so I do wonder if I would have gotten the help sooner. But like I said, I do believe everything happens for a reason. I am who I am today because of the things I've had to go through, and you know, facing my own mortality several times. And I will say this, shadow work saved my life. It 100% saved my life. And not just in the sense that, you know, that, well, what do the kids call it now? Unaliving yourself. Not in the sense only from keeping me from wanting to take my own life. It gave me my life back. It made me see that, yeah, there are these parts of me that need to be healed, but I don't need to be ashamed of it. You know, I've apologized for a lot of the things I still feel bad about, you know, a lot of the things I've said or done, or the explosions, the verbal explosions I've had because of the trauma. And I've done my apology tour a million times. And I had to learn how to forgive that. But like I said, I'm very open with that because, you know, I mean, there's still triggers that happen. We call them triggers. There's still triggers that happen, and they're not pretty sometimes, but I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of able to figure myself out. I have rules for myself. You know, if I start to lose my shit, it's like, you know, you need to walk away. Just say, you know what? I need to take a deep breath. I need to walk away for a second. I'm not walking away from the conversation, but I don't want us to fight. I don't want to fight. And, you know, I've been through enough of those. Sissy Joe and I, you know, she had a lot of things that were going on in her life, and we kind of used each other, I think, as punching bags, you know. And it wasn't fair to either of us, but there was so much pain in both of us that, you know, I think we just knew in the end that no matter how bad it would get, there would always be a resolution between us. And while it wasn't the healthiest way to go, and, you know, we finally got to a point where it's like, you know, we just need to talk this out. If you're feeling bad about something, just talk to me. And we did get to that point, and I'm grateful we got to that point. So, you know, and that was, you know, I hadn't even been back to therapy at that point, but I think I just knew that I didn't want to be angry anymore. You know, and it still took me a couple more years to get back into therapy, and that's when I lost a friend to, you know, suicide. So, when we cover the shadow work, when we go through this, I know that was kind of the long way around to tell you that it's very, very important to really, really have a good support system during this. You may not need them. You may not feel like you need them. You may not utilize them in ways that other people would, like, oh my God, I just came up with all this stuff, I need to vent. You may just say, you know what, I really need a hug right now. Because you may have done some serious journaling, you may have done some serious shadow work, you may have Googled other ways to do shadow work and done those exercises and journal prompts, and it can open the can of worms that you need opened so that you can just get rid of it. You know, as I always say, up and out. It has to come up and out. Otherwise, it's going to build and fester and cause, I really truly believe it can cause health problems. And I'm not saying you're going to manifest some wild disease inside you. What I'm saying is that holding in trauma or repressing and suppressing the anger can cause a lot of stress on your body. It's stress because you know you don't want the world to know, but you're holding in all that shaky anger, right? And you're just like, and you're not letting it out. You know, you can exercise after, go, you know, join a kickboxing club. Well, no, maybe not. You don't want to hurt anybody. It can get that bad. Or maybe, you know, just a place where you can go punch a punching bag, or, you know, the little, what do they call those things? Those speed things? I don't know what they are. The one that Rocky always likes to do. But whatever. Anyways, I mean, these are just suggestions, but for me, I really do recommend either seeking professional help while you're doing this, or having a very close and trusted friend that will keep this tight, because not everybody wants people to know what they're doing. You know, I mean, you may 6 months down the road, wow, you've changed. It's like, no, I'm just me. I'm completely me now. You know, and or you can say, wow, no, I've had growth, you know, or I've had healing. It's up to you. If you don't even have to say anything. You don't even have to say anything. You can just say thanks. Well, thanks, you know. So yeah, so we're going to go over more of this tomorrow, okay? Like I said, I don't know how long this is going to last, this series, but it will take us into next week. I don't think it'll take us beyond that, because I want people to be able to start doing this. But you know what? Find a journal, and if you don't want anyone to read it, find a safe hiding place for it. And, you know, and don't tell people not to look, because when you tell people not to look, the first thing they want to do is look, right? That's human nature. So just, you know, you can even keep it in your bag, your purse, whatever, you know, next to your bedside, and just a journal. But, you know, start writing down. If you have had trauma in your life, start writing all this stuff down so you can get it out of yourself. You know, you can rip up the paper, you can burn it safely, you can put it in the sink and just fill the sink with water, and then just, you know, throw the paper away after it disintegrates. Whatever you need to do for you. And like I said, I do, sorry, it was a crow. I do recommend shadow or therapy. And remember, therapy isn't just walking into someone's office now. You can do this stuff online. Okay, you can do this stuff online. So I've been very fortunate in my life to be able to do all these things. I know they're not overly feasible for a lot of people, which is why I say, you know, make sure you at least have a trusted friend, you know, or someone you trust nearby to help you with all this stuff, okay? So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. Anybody can watch. Got to remind myself tomorrow's Thursday, since I couldn't remember what day it was today. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, and you can catch me on pretty much all the social medias, either under the Aloha Perspective. Shellbell's Quest is on Twitter, or under Shelly Marie Lucas. So you Google, or if you just, you know, check my name, poof, there I am. All right. So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and take care of yourselves. All right. This part of self-love is going to really need you to tap into that self-love and self-care. Okay. Have a great day.